the meeting tonight because Lisa had to step down as chair because of a move. So I will be honest, Kyla has dictated to me what to say. So if I sound really great, please give her credit.
I'll jump in if you.
As vice, we have to call for a new chair. So
You're looking for nominations.
nominations.
Sam Brickley.
No.
I was
gonna-
nominate Christie. I was gonna say Sam.
For chair.
I would second Christie.
Oh, and I was second.
And I think, Christy, you said,
So I will do it for the next couple months. I don't want to do it because I'm actually going to just be one more year on the board and then resign. So I'm going to have to be chair. So I'll just be upfront about that. But I definitely can do it for the next couple months.
And when we constitute a new board after the elections in March anyway, we'll have to go through the whole process again anyway. So probably this is a good interim selection. So
Yeah.
thank you for agreeing to do
You
that.
are very welcome. So we need a motion.
see,
I make a motion to have Christie Duras be our board chair.
until the March
Until
elections.
the March elections.
Second.
And all those in favor? Nays? Abstains?
There you go.
That's unanimous.
Congratulations, it's your meeting.
All right, so agenda review and disposition.
I only have one thing to add under discussion items before the budget hearing prep, and that's the student report.
All right, thank you. Do we have privilege of the floor?
No.
Okay. Approval of December 6, 2022 minutes. Have any changes or?
I'll move to approve them.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And will abstain. Okay. All right. Committee progress report.
So we don't have any this month, but we will be having our next meetings on the 17th, which the committees will resume at 5. Yep.
All right. Student report.
Cool. Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
So, upcoming January, students have midterms. They got pushed back a day, so they now start on the 20th. And then NHS and NTHS inductions, National Honor Society and National Technical Honor Society. Those are also upcoming in January. Rehearsal for the auditions for the spring play are tomorrow and on Thursday, with performances being in middle to late March. And the Penguin Plunge fundraiser is also underway among the student body. And finally, there's the Lakes Region Music Festival on January 14th. That's just
Thank you.
Where is the plunge?
It's a fundraiser that students sign up with like a link, and then they gather donations.
Yeah, I know what it, but
And
where?
last year we had the fire station come by and they doused all the participants in water.
Oh, okay. You don't jump in the lake.
No.
Okay. No, because there was one on TV.
Yeah.
This previous week I
It's
saw.
quite a
that.
scene though out here with
We
the
get
fire truck.
entrenched. It's cold. Yeah.
Anything else, Nash?
No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Janet, did you have anything to add?
Just a few things. We're prepping for the Teacher in Service, which is a full Teacher in Service day in January, which is the 13th, Friday. And then the school counseling office is really excited about bringing Chris Herron here for a all-school assembly. He's a former NBA player and he's a motivational speaker and mostly around the issue of sobriety. So that's happening on the 18th of January. At the committee meeting on the 17th, we'll talk about the rest of the courses that have been proposed, and we haven't gotten through all of those to you. Those are the ones that do not have a budgetary impact. Those are just some new ideas from current staff in terms of electives. And then in terms of the midterm schedule that Dash spoke of, we'll run on the delayed opening schedule so that students can have a little bit more of a sleep-in time for all of those exams.
Yeah, on January 13th, does that mean there's a 4-day weekend for the kids?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
In case you hear whispering from Janet's computer, it's Bruce.
I didn't want that to be distracting.
Just in case you're wondering.
Where?
He's in Florida.
Held up in Florida.
Yeah, held up.
Budget hearing prep?
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. I'm gonna review the budget functions, the summary at the end. And I just told Christy kind of the procedure of how we move through it. You open the hearing. I'll go through any significant increases or decreases. There could be any questions. After you close the hearing, you vote on the budget to move to the deliberative session with the warrant articles. I have a few handouts that I'll give to you at the end of the meeting before we go downstairs, including enrollment, GMR rates over history, kind of the normal questions that people ask us about, retirement, and then just what percentage of the budget falls under each function, so the regular ed, special ed, CTE, etc. So that's all on the process tonight. Are there any questions for me or anything you want me to add? Obviously, I'll go over some of the new positions too, but other than that, we don't have any teachers agreements or support staff agreements, so the warrant's just the budget, the contingency article, and the tuition agreements, and that's it.
Kyla, tonight's the night where people have the opportunity to ask us about the budget.
Yes,
During the hearing, right?
correct, at the end of the presentation, yep. And then just under other business, if you can vote on a temporary vice chair too, just in case if Christie's out, if somebody can step in as sorry, put everybody on the spot that showed up, until March. Who's not here? You can also nominate people that aren't here.
I'd nominate Sam for that.
I might not be at a meeting or two, so I'm probably not the best choice for that. I'll be out of town a little bit. But thank you.
I'll nominate Phil.
There you go.
Second.
Oh, there you go. See what happens?
I wanted to get someone in there who knew what I might be doing.
All right, you have a second, so.
Second, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Phil, are you willing and able? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Congratulations, Phil.
Whether you are or not, you're gonna do it.
I'll be here anyway.
Best man
Perfect.
for the job.
Congratulations, Phil.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it for other business? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, privilege of the floor, one more time.
I
Just,
had a question, the committees that you have every other week, hearing about the potential new classes, are those meetings open to the public or are they closed just to board members?
They are open to the public.
Okay.
Yep.
And are there minutes as well? I know that.
Minutes are all posted.
All
Yep.
posted in addition to the
Yep.
minutes as well,
Yep.
just on that website?
Yep.
Awesome, thanks.
Usually, no action is taken at the meetings, and then it moves to the full board for any specific decisions.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
And I don't believe we've had meetings every other,
No, it's once a month.
Oh, yeah, it's once a month,
Once a month.
is
okay.
committees, yeah.
and we missed last
Yeah, we missed, I think we didn't have one.
And sometimes the schedule changes,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm new, I'm trying to figure it all out, I just want to get the information.
Do we have to go into non-public?
Just for a quick minute for personnel.
Okay.
I make a motion that we move into non-public for personnel.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right?
All right.
All
All right, we're going to open the budget hearing at this time.
So welcome, everyone. My name's Kyla Welch. I'm going to be reviewing the budget with you. In front of you, you have a number of handouts, including the retirement rates, the GMR, the enrollment, the pie chart of the portion of each function total in the budget as well, and the portion for that piece. And then I'm going to bring your attention to the handout of the thicker one. If you can turn to page 27. So we present the budget a little differently here and go by this function subtotals. And if you have any specific questions, I would ask that you wait till the end. We'd be happy to answer anything specifically. So again, page 27. All right. If I start going too fast, let me know. Too slow, you can let me know that too. So we're going to start with the 1100 account, which is most of your regular education. So that's where most of your teachers are under that, and most of your regular ed programming. So the major variance in that is there's a new teachers agreement that the costs are reflected in there, as well as a new position. This year we've added a new position under that, which is a dance theater position. And that is really the main reason that we've added that, is we've been finding that a number of freshmen and a number of students have had too many study halls. So what the board has done in the past few months is had some teacher requests to add new classes, and then the administrative team talked about different programs that you can add to for kids to build the theater program and the dance program, so that can be have more kids filtering into that as well. So we're really looking at eliminating the amount of study halls that students have throughout the day. So that's your difference in the 1100 account of the 126,252. The second line is the 1200 account. That includes most of your special education. I'll review some other lines that include special education related services as well. A number of costs include the salaries that are related again to the new teacher's contract, as well as needs of students with disabilities. So your out-of-district line, so students sent out of district to different placements, has relatively stayed the same, although it's a significant cost. What has gone up is the contracted services, so that's anything from autism specialists or behavioral specialists. That's included in that 1200 line, so that's the majority of the increase there. Applied Technology Program, that's your Career Tech Center. And so you see that's up a bit, and that's due to a new program that's being added for next year under Outdoor Rec Leadership. So that was approved a couple of months ago, and it's going to be the first program in the state that has been approved by the state board, so we're really looking forward to that piece. That will be a new position. Function 1400, co-curricular athletics and summer school. So again, that has gone up basically on the collective bargaining agreement or your agreement, and then as well as some uniform. The uniforms are on cycles, so football, soccer, and then lacrosse helmets are up for next year. Line 942, evening enrichment, that line isn't really used anymore. So moving on to line 943, guidance, drug, and alcohol intervention. The only changes there are changes in personnel related to the agreement. Line 944, health services. So you'll see an increase of $30,734, and that's mainly linked right to our nursing contract with Spear Memorial. And that we're looking to possibly look elsewhere next year or look at different options this year as far as looking at that number with Spear and working with Spear to collaborate with them to have a little bit more cost savings. But that's the initial number. It may stay the same as that as well, and that covers administrative fees. Line 945, psychological services. So that includes your psychologist and any testing that students with IEPs or students with disabilities require. Most of that change is just due to a direct correlation to the collective bargaining agreement and personnel. Speech, OT, which is occupational therapy, PT, which is physical therapy, and again, those 3 lines are related right to special education and what the services are required within a student's IEP, individual education plan. Assemblies is 3,000, there's no change there. Line 948, improvement of instruction, that's your professional development line, and that is connected right to the collective bargaining agreement for both support and teachers' agreements. School board services is just a little bit of an, did I miss one? Sorry. I got my line. Good thing the lights are on high. There we go. Library services, so the only change there is an increase of a little over 5,000, and that's just directly related to the personnel and the teachers' agreement and the support staff agreement. School board services, the only increase there is the additional, so this year we had an additional audit that we received so much, I guess, federal funds for the ESSER and all the COVID relief money that we had to have an additional audit because we went over.
The threshold for what's called the single audit threshold is $750,000. So once you exceed that threshold in federal funds, you're required to undergo a more scrutinized audit for it costs about an additional $5,000.
Yep. Line 951, SAU services, so you'll see that's up by $17,351 for Pemi Baker, and that's directly off a formula of 50% average daily membership and 50% equalized valuation. So that is, we've reviewed that at previous meetings as well. Line 952, applied tech director and tech coordinator. So this is your CTE director and the supervision of all tech services in there. And there was just a staff exchange and movement, so that's why you see a decrease there. Principal's office, you'll see another decrease there, and that's because of a staff exchange. So right now, under that office, there was a big increase last year, as you can see. And under this line now, you have we've moved the principal, the assistant principal, and the athletic director are all under this line. So it's just kind of a flip as far as where it's reflected. No change in line 954, financial account. Line 955, custodial services. So you'll see it's increased by $18,767. We did add an additional person to help with the cleaning and services of the building. So that's what's reflected there, an additional custodian. Line 956, transportation. This not only includes regular busing, it includes special education transportation as well, and homeless transportation. So all under that line, the high school is under a 5-year contract. They'll be in year 4 next year. And for special ed, again, that's connected right to the individual students. So that can fluctuate every year, as well as any homeless students that we may have and required to pay the transportation. Line 957, support services, that's your school resource officer contract. So the high school pays a portion of that contract, and it's tied right to the police and fire collective bargaining agreement. Building improvement is 1. So the board is really trying to address that through a lot of the ESSER funds that we're getting to not have it in the regular budget as well. So we've had some big projects with that piece. Line 959, principal and interest. So the 2 pieces in that is the CTE Center and the energy project that was approved in 2016.
Correct.
Yeah, so those are the 2 pieces that you're paying on there. Food service, $1. Transfer to other elements, 0. And then another significant increase you'll see is the health insurance. And although the GMRs is only 3.7, that could be a change of plans and the new contract reflecting in that as well.
Correct, mostly changes.
Mostly changes, okay. Dental insurance, you see just up a little bit. So you'll see your total district funds are up 720,323. Federal funds are at 0. And then the food service fund, you want to explain that at all? Are you good?
That's just the appropriation to make sure we have the money to fund the account on the revenue side. If you get to the last page of the budget package, you'll also see the same amount of revenue comes through. The food service program operates at a break even in this budget.
The only other piece to review real quick is the warrant. Looks like this, not the other white handout. And it's fairly simple this year. There's no teacher contracts up or no support staff contracts. Did you not? That's not in the back.
I think I might have handed you a copy.
I don't know. So that includes Article 1 is to negotiate and execute tuition contracts. That's on every year. That gives, that's on there every year. Article 2, School Board Contingency Fund, to give us some flexibility within the budget. And then Article 3 is obviously the operating budget. The only thing that will change if this budget is moved forward is just a little change in the default due to some last-minute personnel changes, and it would go down due to in the special ed
Yes.
line. Yeah, by a few $1,000.
Yeah, correct.
That's all I have. Does that mean I'm done?
The computer's almost done with us.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, well, I guess my first question, I know the board's goal is to maintain no more than a 3% increase. At the last board meeting, it was at like 3.7, but I was looking at a draft 2. What is the increase this year?
So it was it 4.5?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's at 4.5
It's at
under the
4.5.
appropriations, yep.
Okay. So I have a couple of things if I can. So I guess my first is looking at that as being 4.5. As much as I'm a proponent of the arts, and I'm a huge proponent of outdoor education, are these two areas that we can look at tabling for another year to try to get it down to that 3%? I just feel, I think we all feel the pressures of our economy right now, going to the gas station, going to Hannaford's. It's a lot, and our taxes have been going up exponentially for quite some time now, and I'm a Plymouth resident. So it's hard for me to ask this because I'm an educator, but I do wonder if we need to just hold back on adding extra expenses. I understand special education costs out of our control, transportation costs out of our control. This is an area we could maybe just pause for a year and bring it back to the table and give some relief to our taxpayers.
Did you want Bruce to answer that on the, because I think we've answered that with the board before.
Do you want to speak to, did you hear that?
Why we're pushing it this year?
What's the question?
Do you need the 2 new positions this year?
The need for the 2 new positions this year rather than tabling it for another year, given the increase.
As I said at the previous meeting, all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. We're still going to have 200 kids that are in study halls that don't have enough elective courses that we can offer at that high school. So we're just putting it off for another year. That's the issue in front of us.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
Well,
Yeah, I guess, and I know right now we're all putting things off because times are tough. I would just wanted looking at the, uniforms. Just wondering, looking at the expenditures that we spend on all the other sports on uniforms, and I'm wondering if we could propose decreasing the additional $19,000 that's on the budget for the football uniforms to maybe match that of lacrosse or baseball. They're around $5,500, and tabling that till the end of the year to see if there's a surplus. I know my kids, they're using hair ties on their shirts, they're making do, we're buying them short so they fit. So I just wonder, can we refurbish some of these things that the football players need? I get it, I like football. I just, as a parent of female athletes, like just see a little bit more equity. $19,000 seems like a real lot in these times for uniforms.
Did you want to speak to that, the uniform, the cycle of how you do that?
All our sports are on a 5-year cycle. And again, that's a question, you're talking about a surplus possibly at the end of the year. If there isn't, I mean, football is an expensive sport, we all know that. With the amount of students that are involved in it and the away games and the home games, it does require, again, putting that off could throw us off cycle, especially when you have hockey and lacrosse coming down the road with you. So again, that's a gamble that we'd have to look at if you'd want to take that chance. But we've been pretty good with keeping the sports programs on a cycle and be able to fulfill the needs. We presently have close to 325 students in every single season sport that we accommodate at that high school. But again, that is a question that you guys would have to put forth. But we've remained pretty tedious to the cycle that we've gone on. And again, it's a 5-year cycle, and football is an expensive sport. I agree with you.
Isn't part of the issue with the uniforms for football that the helmets are so expensive? Because, I mean, they need to meet a certain requirement, and you can't, I mean, that's something you can't put off or...
Yeah, that's part of it, and I think, you know, Janice, you may be able to answer a little bit more, but I think for the most part, it's home and away uniforms and everything that goes with it.
Shoulder pads,
The pads.
They just wear a lot more equipment than, say, soccer does.
Yeah.
And that's why there's the additional cost. And they are refurbished every year to keep them in shape so they do last 5 years.
They do last.
If I may too, Janet, the helmets alone for a safety issue are a major expense too. The helmets, and we have to contract service all that equipment out to make sure it's properly maintained so that our students are safe.
And then I have 2 questions just on specific line items on the budget. So under athletics, I'm just curious, line item 419, but I'm on budget draft 2, my apologies. It's 1420 athletics continued, professional and tech services. I'm just curious what that entails. It's $75,000 and I just don't know, so forgive my ignorance.
So the primary expense,
Go ahead.
As a executive board member on the NHIA, all our sports come through that program down in Concord. That includes all the officiating for all your sports, the 92 schools that are member schools in the NHIA. And their fees have gone up. Referees, they've changed now with a lot of the tournaments. They've added an extra referee or an official for safety issues. So that's a line item that's hard to control because that basically comes out of Concord itself on the number of sports that we offer.
And then just another question, the salaries for football. I'm curious how many coaches we pay for football.
So who, Four.
That should be approximately 25 or 26,000. That includes 4 people.
4.
And I think Janet and Janice have the information that go along with that number.
Yeah, it's the head coach plus 3.
And the
with
3
a
are,
total of 4.
Yeah, the varsity, the JV, and
And then
the
Freshmen.
the 2 freshmen.
assistants.
Yeah, and just so you know, the head coach and the theater position in co-curricular, they're on the highest step, and that's negotiated through the collective bargaining agreement, and they're at the highest step on the track.
they're in their own classification.
For the head coach of football.
And the
yes,
theater
and
director.
they can't go any higher.
Right.
Okay. So really 5 coaches. No, so this is
4
and
coaches
then
total.
plus-
All those other coaches are volunteer coaches.
Okay. I don't know how many
Yeah.
coaches there are. I don't know, we can play football. Okay. And then my last question on athletics, for freshman programming for the ballpark, $11,000-ish dollars. What is the freshman program? Is that the freshman volleyball, like what is that line item cover?
Yes, that's an open ticket item. Basically, we see what the numbers dictate. Some years we will run freshman volleyball. Some years we have the numbers for soccer. Some years we have the numbers for baseball. So that is a floating number depending on the amount of students that go out for that individual sport. And the salary generally ranges at $1,600. And they have anywhere between 8 to 15 games that they play. But it is a unique opportunity for our kids to be able to have a freshman program. A lot of high schools do not. They don't have the numbers to maintain. But again, we have to sit back and wait to see what those numbers look like before we put a number.
That's it, and thank you for your work on the budget. I know it's arduous work, I get it. I've been looking at this a lot, just trying to figure out how to get it closer to that 3%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just have 2 things. One, I apologize, this is the first time I've taken a look at this, so I'm just wondering, is there going to be another opportunity for this kind of budget meeting?
So not really. There's a deliberative session after this where it's run by the moderator, but this is where we would have the discussion here. The board met 3 previous meetings to go over the budget and to come up with this number. So that's how it usually goes. The regular budget meeting, the budget hearing, then deliberative session, and then it goes to ballot voting.
Okay. And when's that voting?
The voting is, what's voting day?
Tuesday, March 14th is the day of actual ballot voting. The first deliberative session is the first week of February.
February 7th.
February 7th. Thank you.
And if we do have questions about specific line items, who do we contact?
You can contact my office and we can answer you there. You can email me too.
Okay. And then with regards to, sorry.
Or Mr. Parsons, actually. Either one of us. You
Okay.
can
With regards to line number 938, it seems like one of the justifications for having that position open for dance and theater is because there's too many study halls available for students. Is that all of a sudden this year there's too many study halls, or has this been building up?
Bruce, do you want to answer that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Did you hear that question?
We might have lost it.
Do you want to answer that, Janet?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer from the history that I know. There was some restructuring in the master schedule. We added an intervention block, which adjusted the daily schedule to meet all of the needs of all of the kids through intervention and enrichment. Additionally, the freshmen had a seminar that we transitioned into this daily opportunity rather than that big chunk of time. So it just shifted the master plan a little bit. But currently we did run some numbers with our freshmen. We have 48 current freshmen who have 2 study halls. And we have 30 freshmen currently who have 2 study halls back to back, which is a really tough schedule for a new freshman entering our system. With just and the reason is because we just don't have enough sections of electives is essentially the barrier that we've identified as one of the reasons why we have so many. So by default, they're in a study hall.
So is that because they don't want to take these electives that fit, or is it because it won't absolutely cannot work their schedule around so that they can take something?
Correct. It becomes a math problem at the end of the day, and the schedule is in a matrix because it's on an A and B day, so there's only 8 blocks in total. So it's about fitting in what's available and sometimes given what they are required to take versus what they want to take, it just is becoming more and more difficult to fill their day without adding additional opportunities for them.
And this is because of the intervention thing, which is the Bobcat block?
Yes.
If I'm understanding?
Yeah,
And the
I think-
Bobcat block is new this year?
Yes,
And the elimination of the freshman.
and the elimination of the freshman seminar.
Why was
Because
that
to
so
do
bad?
both would have been a little bit counterintuitive. The Bobcat block is doing some of what the freshman seminar did, but it really changed the matrix component of the AB schedule.
And can I ask why dance? Was that as opposed to other electives?
Well, because right now in Plymouth Regional, we only have three educators in the fine and performing arts. And so it's when we look historically about what kids want and elect and can't get into, it's frequently in the arts. They're looking for more opportunities in that domain that we aren't able to provide at this time.
And- Sorry?
And it wouldn't just be like dance class, they can teach a number of theater tech classes and dance as well. It's a dance certification, so in the performing
Right,
arts.
don't get me wrong.
Choreography.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm
Yeah.
all for the arts, because that's an area that I completely lack in, so I think that's great. I'm just wondering, I didn't realize that there was that much of a need for, or desire for the theater program.
Mhm. I met with the 8th grade middle school counselors just last week, and they're beginning that conversation in the middle schools right now with the incoming freshmen, and they do get a lot of requests for the arts. It's something that, in our K-8 buildings, they're really tied to sometimes one time a week because we run with single art teachers in those buildings. So they're looking for the variety and the newness and just something that they're not offered in the elementary buildings, which I think is one of the reasons why we're looking to kind of, add something that really hasn't been done here in a bit.
And we don't currently have a position or a faculty member that teaches these?
It's
No.
just co-curricular, it's after school.
It's an after-school obligation.
And we did have it in the past, and it was really popular. The sections were maxed out, so it would be a great art elective for students.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions at this time? Yep.
Sorry, just one other one, just out of my ignorance. On this pink board, what is GMR?
So that stands for Guaranteed Maximum Rate. Each year, the health insurance program that we participate with provides a budgetary figure indicating that our health insurance will increase by no more than that percentage point. It will get a final rate in April, which may be lower, but will be no higher than that.
All right, so at this point, we'll close the budget hearing.
Okay.
Oh, one more
Sorry,
question.
that's okay, no.
One other question, about the school board service units, give me 1 second here, line 950. You said that that was tied to CARES or COVID money, because we had exceeded 750,000. Was that, did we know that there was gonna be that increase in stringency for auditing that would result in this kind of a cost?
Yes. So I want to be clear that at the end, over the course of the fiscal year next year, when we incur that extra $5,000 in expense, we will be able to bill it to the grants that are responsible for pushing us over the threshold. So the revenues will come in a bit higher as well. They're on that last page, but because of the gross budgeting statute, we're required to accurately depict what the expense to that line will be.
Okay, and will that reduce the overall number at all?
It'll be a wash.
It'll wind up being a wash. It will, then the net assessment will, once the grant is approved, the net assessment will go down by that $5,000 audit fee, yes.
Okay.
Okay, at this point then, close the budget hearing. thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. All right. So, are you comfortable moving this on at this point?
Move it on.
Okay, motion made. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Sam seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion?
I'm sorry? Any discussion? Move the
Discussion.
discussion on? Peter made a motion, Sam
Seconded by
seconded to
Sam.
move it on.
I do feel like the folks who spoke tonight had a good point about the positions, the teaching positions. As I mentioned at the last school board meeting, I feel as though we could push that off a bit, but I thought I should at least put that out there again, and it seems as though we could, I don't know the schedule, and I know how challenging that is. And I know it's a crazy puzzle to try to fit 650 kids into a high school schedule. But it seems to me that there's got to be some creative way to make this happen with the teachers we have and the sections we have. I mean, are we saying that all of the other classes are fully booked, and, that it seems like we have a smaller number of kids now than we did 5 years ago, and seems like that's sort of a jump. That seems to me a bit of a leap with the budget that we're looking at.
I have to agree with Maureen 100%. It sounds like that Bobcat block kind of threw everything off. Did we see as many kids in study halls without the Bobcat block and doing the freshman seminar and the way things were set up, say, 2 years ago? Did we have as many kids in study hall? Was it an issue then? Because I'm very new to the board, so I have to ask the question.
Did you hear that question, Bruce?
Can you repeat it to me?
Yeah, Bruce, did the Bobcat, I'm hearing that the Bobcat block really threw the scheduling, and it appears it may have pushed more kids into study hall. Is that the basis for the problem here? I mean, is that why so many kids are in study hall, and why we're adding two positions?
The other one is that we used to, 10 years ago, we had one of the strongest theater programs in the state of New Hampshire, where we offered a lot of these courses. Obviously, when the teacher negotiated, and we ended up with this Bobcat block. Yes, it did create some roadblocks for us by giving those kids that extra time and extra free time in their schedule. But this isn't new. I mean, we used to have down the road. Yeah, our numbers were a lot lower. I mean, a lot higher back then in those days. But again, I can't stress enough about the opportunities that we don't have with the lack of elective, and art is off the chart when the kids sign up. I mean, you'll look, I mean, and those are the first courses that really fill up quickly on that. I think there's other areas maybe we could look at if it's that, but again, when we schedule, if we don't have a full schedule, then I won't be coming back to you guys with a full teacher, because the whole thing depends on what the kids sign up for. But when you look at the number of classes that you have in your fact book, and you can see the numbers, they're up there. They're up there. I mean, some of our AP courses, not so much, but we can justify this.
Yeah, have you thought about doing away with Bobcat block and going back to the old way of doing this, and maybe avoiding some of that?
Have to be renegotiated, guys, and that's a whole different ball of wax. I mean, I know the negotiating committee on both sides spent some serious time on getting this into action. I mean, there's plus and minuses on both. I mean, I see a lot of positives in this Bobcat block, where these kids are getting to spend extra time with particular teachers. So
yeah, I get that.
It comes down to what you want to run. That's what it comes down
No,
to.
I understand that, but I also live in Plymouth, and I'm representing Plymouth, And I have people from Plymouth here looking at me as if, well, what are we doing? And I have to, again, I'm very new to this, but I have to ask the questions. And I hear what you say about kicking the can down the road, but a lot of people in the community are kicking many cans down the road because of the current economic environment. So,
I hear you loud and clear.
so
Again,
it's.
I'll do whatever you guys, I can only offer you the advice as I see it, as I run the school day to day. And, but I do feel the pain too out there. It is, it's absolutely justified. So, can we do without it? Again, well, you heard me loud and clear, Angie, Anthony, Kyla. That's a lot of kids and a lot of study halls, which is a lot of downtime.
Bruce, the current staff that we have, there is no one, are we able to offer any other electives for these kids? I mean, is your current staff completely maxed out?
They're pretty maxed out, Greg.
Yeah.
Because I have to worry about certification.
Okay.
As long as we go fire off the box, I could go on having a teacher teach outside their certified area of expertise.
Understood.
But we get very creative when we do that schedule. It's a major project, and we look at other areas. We do it before the April 15th comes around, so we know if we don't have enough sections in another one, there could be trouble in some of the other areas, and we do that before we send the contracts out. So.
I have another question, Bruce. When you have kids that you're looking at their schedules, if you have a kid who's looking for an elective and there aren't any available, aren't there other classes they can take that are not considered electives? Can they pick up another history class, or can they pick up something else? I'm not sure. I don't know exactly how that works.
It depends on the student, Maureen. It really does. I've seen it drop over the last 4 or 5 years in our world language numbers. I don't know if it's because of our feeder system in our middle school. I've seen a drop there. But because it's just a select course. Most of the courses are fine-tuned to what a student would be tuned into. Think about it. Your career tech course, they can't get into there until they're 16 years old, except for the drafting. We got creative with a couple of positions we're doing next year, but that's a non-budgetary. We're just offering more courses for the freshman year we can fill. But when it comes to selecting courses, the kids are pretty picky on what they want. Will Gunn does a wonderful job in going out trying to recruit to the middle schools and get as many kids as he can into that program. But again, it depends on the students and what they're looking to take if they move forward in high school.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bruce.
Any other, go ahead.
Carla, do we need to have this final action taken tonight? Could we wait until the 17th?
It's only committee meeting. You can, if you wanted to have a quick, I'm not bound by any deadlines.
We have a posting deadline coming up. Let me
I
just
do.
pull up the date when it
Yeah.
is, okay?
Check the posting deadline.
We have a date that we have to post the proposed budget by, and that includes signed by a quorum of the board.
Yeah.
So, if you just give me 1 second, let me pull up the exact date.
It seems there was more discussion tonight than what we've had.
Yes, sir.
Do I allowed to say anything?
No, not at this time.
The meeting's adjourned.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have the posting date?
I'm just pulling that up, sorry.
That's what we're waiting for.
Sorry. Monday, January 30th was the last day of posting.
So typically you vote on it here, but,
Yeah, thank you.
but, you could if you want to add a board meeting to the when is that, 17?
Tuesday the 17th.
I'm sorry I opened up another can of worms.
No, we've done that before, I guess. I don't know if it's the will of the board, but
Well,
we're not,
because procedurally, there's a motion, and I've seconded it, and
Right.
we're in discussion now. So
Right.
if people wanted to have another meeting, that'd have to get voted down, and then there'd have to be another motion. I think these are great questions. My concern is that we started this budget process 2 to 3 months ago. We had numerous meetings, we talked about all these, and so it's kind of at the last minute now. And so we'd have to stop the process, which we can do, but we've had some of these discussions. What is this, the fourth draft? The
Third draft,
Third
yeah.
draft. And so it's kind of like at the last minute.
I think what got kind of mixed into this was the balance that we have in our account that we were talking about, giving back to the voters to decrease their tax, overall tax impact. And I forget the exact number, but it was bringing that would bring that back to more of a, 3% increase-ish.
Which you made that, do you want to talk about that?
So I want to be clear, that changes the net assessment.
Right.
It doesn't change the budget.
Right,
But it
But
brought
the-
that down to what?
It depends on the town.
Yeah.
So that's the fun, the increases by town, as it's currently proposed, with that additional revenue, which is how the process is, range from 3.06 to all the way up to a high of 23.4% in change in in tax rate change. So the budget that has a goal of 3% is currently 4.5, and the net assessment with that additional revenue changes by town.
You want to vote?
So you have
Yeah.
to vote on the
And if
current
there's
motion.
any more discussion? So we're voting on the current motion to move this forward.
Of course, you said, I made the motion, you seconded it.
Correct.
You can't vote against it.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Marie,
We can't-
the
we
question
can't.
was, what Peter said is even though he made the motion and I seconded it, do we still have to vote for it if we don't want to? Can you vote against your own motion? And my understanding is yes, you can vote against your own motion. The motion just tees up the issue.
Okay. So, all those in favor? Can we go down the line?
Of accepting the budget as written, you're saying?
Yes, yep, moving this budget
And moving it on to the
forward.
deliberative
Yep.
session?
If it's
Okay.
not accepted now, we'll have on the 17th a special school board meeting where some of the issues that have been addressed tonight will be readdressed. Is that
If-
correct?
I think-
If somebody makes a motion to that effect,
Right.
You have to make a motion.
and it's seconded and
Different.
approved, yes.
Right,
Okay.
okay, let's vote on moving this forward to the next step. Sam?
Yes.
Yes.
no.
No.
Yes.
No.
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 Now you will.
Yes. So,
What was that?
I think that was 5 no, 4 yes.
Let's raise hands to count.
What do you ask?
yays? Four of us, yeah. Okay.
So that
So-
motion fails, so now you need a new motion.
New motion now to,
Well, somebody has to make one.
That was 4 yeas and 5 noes. Okay.
right, so it did not pass.
Yep.
Now you need a new motion.
Bill?
Could I move that we put the budget approval on the upcoming January 17th meeting?
Second.
We had at a full board meeting.
Just a point of clarification.
Yeah.
Canceling committees or keeping just a board meeting?
I'd add it on. But that's,
Yep.
my motion would be to move this forward to the 17th of January.
At what time? I would
That
just
would be
add, I
after
would be
the-
very specific in your,
The board chair, you have input on that? What?
Well, we already have committee meetings at 5.
you can start the the quick board meeting just to review, have a special meeting for that at 5 and then just do committees after.
Okay, yeah. All right, so why don't we start it at 5?
Okay.
Do the full board meeting at 5.
Okay.
Yep. So, can you repeat, so you made a motion to?
A motion to schedule a special board meeting on the 17th at 5 PM for the purpose of final approval of the proposed 2023-24 school district budget.
And warrant.
And Warren.
And more, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Maureen seconds. All those in favor? And nays? Abstain? Okay, so that passes. The same count, or? 6 things. All right.
All right, so just for clarification, the board meeting, there'll be a board meeting, full board meeting, just to discuss the budget at 5 and then followed by committees. Good?
Yep. Yes.
Could you read the results of that vote? What was it?
There was 5 in favor and 4.
For the second one, too? Oh.
Right now. All right, someone would make a motion to close the meeting? Are we done?
You're done.
Oh, we're done.
You're done.
No more motions.
Here